Ugh, my nails are getting long again. There I go, procrastinating again. Ah! Hello, you beautiful people! David here, or Sin City Yeti, or just Yeti, whichever you prefer, and today we're going to be doing an art tour! This isn't exactly a happy art tour, though. However, I think it's an important one because things that have helped me could possibly help others. In that same note, I am not a professional. I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I have never taken any kind of psychology class. I cannot diagnose anybody. All I can do is say, these tools helped me process in this way. They could possibly help others. But I will always highly encourage you to please go seek professional help if you feel that you need help. If you are in a mental state that you are uncomfortable with it, you don't like, and you feel like something's wrong, go seek help. Please go seek help. And I know it sucks that you're going to be talking to a stranger and doing that kind of stuff, but shop around. Do not settle. Kind of do your best to get a good general feel for the office, the staff, the doctor. You can shop around. If you do not like somebody, you do not need to stay. You can look for somebody else. So please seek professional help if you feel that you need it. And I'm always encouraging everybody to seek it because I feel like everybody needs it at some point. All that's being done is you are being taught exercises and given tools to help you process and understand the world around you in a much better way, in the way that you perceive it. So please, seek help. And it's okay. That's probably super rambly, but now that that's out of the way, I can move on to the actual purpose of this video. So this video is not going to be scripted at all. I don't script my videos anyway, but I typically have a general idea of where I'm going to go because there's also cues in my videos from when I'm making my artwork, so I know oh, stay on track. This is what you were doing. This is what you were talking about in this moment. So that kind of helps me stay on track. I don't have this with this. And this is a very difficult series for me to kind of sit here and this is what I'm going to say and make my check marks. Because this is a very emotional series. So I'm not even going into this with an idea. So I apologize if it's a little rambly. I'm going to do my best to stay on track. Okay? I'm going to do my best. The other thing, I may feel like I'm in a really good mental space right now. I am going to be talking about things this is my processing trauma series. They were traumatic. I will do my best to stay composed and to talk, but I can't guarantee it. Like I said, I know I'm in a good headspace right now, and I can look at the paintings in front of me, just the top ones, and okay, yeah, I'm okay with those. I'm not talking about them, and there's a lot of paintings here, so yeah. Anyway, the nature of these paintings is heavy. I'm probably not going to be using as many gifs or jokes, even though I do joke and laugh to cope with a lot of the things that have happened. It's how I cope. But I also at the same time know that a lot of these subjects are going to be very serious for people. And not even though these are my stories, they could awaken something in another person and make them upset if I'm not handling it in a tone that they feel deserves a serious nature. If that makes sense? So, yeah. Anyways, with you now having some of the premise, I'm going to say there's going to be talk of some very traumatic events. I am going to refrain from going into detail in the nitty-gritty of a lot of situations, but some situations are a little harder to work around than others. And because of that, some of this artwork is going to be products of being essayed as a child, self-eradication, religious trauma, and childhood abuse. So just be prepared. There's a lot of emotions in these paintings. And I will answer why I create the paintings, because that's probably the biggest question I get. If these events are so traumatic, why create the art? I will get there. So that's one of the questions that I'm going to be answering with this. So yeah, let's get started. I know that's a really heavy introduction, but it is what it is. It's just, yeah, it just is. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of like tell a story. I don't have a set like order I'm going to be going in. I'm just going to kind of like go through the paintings that I feel like go together for whatever reason. But I'm going to start with one in particular because I think this painting, I know this painting is a recreation of a painting I did when I was 8 years old. I believe that I shouldn't say painting, that drawing that I did when I was 8 was, as far as I can remember, the first instance of me making a piece of artwork that would be technically a part of this series. So yeah, I'm going to tell you about the artwork. I don't have it. Unfortunately, my parents found it and there was no detail given to why I had created this piece of artwork. So, to give you an idea, the piece of artwork I made was a headless demon, but his face was in his body with arms and legs sticking out. He was naked and he was peeing on a child figure. I did this when I was 8 years old. My parents found that and I got into a lot of trouble. I didn't realize at the time that that was me processing a very traumatic event I needed help with through art. That moment made me start destroying my artwork. I got into a lot of trouble for that piece of artwork, and I didn't understand why I had gotten into trouble. I just know my artwork was bad, and because of how much trouble I got into, I started destroying my artwork. And I didn't stop destroying my artwork until I was like 26. So most of the artwork I ever created that would be part of the series is gone. There's no way getting it back. It's turned to ash. It was thrown away, ripped up and flushed down the toilet, buried in the desert, like shredded and put into confetti guns. There's a lot of things that this artwork went through, and I appreciate the experience. That's kind of the point of a lot of this artwork, is just like the experience and being like okay with putting it out there. And I created it knowing it was going to be destroyed, so like it still provided an outlet, but I just don't have it anymore. My first painting I'm going to show you is titled Crazy at 8, and it is a recreation of that drawing that I had done when I was 8 years old. I did change some stuff just because I wanted it to be a little bit more encompassing, and just I didn't want to draw my childhood self being peed on by a demon either, so like that kind of stuff was taken out, but I did censor it. So this is Crazy at 8. Don't worry, like I did put a little sticker over himself so he could be a little bit covered, but I will explain. Crazy at 8. So first thing is the demon, and I just talked about him. Second is this purple box right here with what looks like fire coming out, and almost like a swirl of emotional faces. And then in the very back right there, there's a child figure with a plastic bag that is tied on a rope, who seems to be surrounded by a bunch of robed figures. So my first unalighting attempt, I was 8, and my mother had found me with I had a plastic bag over my head and a noose from an extension cord wrapped around my neck, dangling in my closet. So like that was my first attempt. Second attempt, I thought I couldn't do it at home, so maybe doing it somewhere else, and that was to burn myself alive in the clubhouse my best friend Jason at the time and I had built in the desert. So we got a bunch of plywood and like boxes and things that we had found in the desert, put them all together to make like a little clubhouse. There's like pallets and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really matter what it's made of, other than it was very flammable stuff. And we had made like this little campfire spot in the center, and Jason was in something. It wasn't Boy Scouts, but it was something similar, and not Eagle Scouts. But he knew like the top had to be ventilated, so we had the fire, and it would vent out through the top. And I said I would take care of it to put it out, that he could go ahead and head home. I stayed in there for a little bit longer. I didn't realize he was outside waiting for me since I had told him to go home. I thought he went home, but I tried burning myself alive in the clubhouse. Jason pulled me out, and I remember getting home and my mom and dad looking at me and going, "Is everything okay?" And I just, yeah, everything's fine. And my mom, what were you doing? You smell like smoke. And I just went into the room and I locked myself in the room and I didn't talk to them. What was I supposed to tell them? Like, they already found me once, and I don't feel like I wasn't given an opportunity to talk about what I was going through. I didn't feel like I was in a safe space to talk about what I was going through, and you're going to get into more of that, but that's when a lot of it started. So my first attempt was when I was 8 years old, and it was because I was SA'd the year before, and it wasn't just a regular SA, it was intense. It has its own piece, but I will get there. So that's the first one. So that's kind of the representation of my very first artwork that I'm aware of for this series. There's a couple other recreations. I also have some pictures of some, but not the physical artwork anymore. So yeah. The next one, I'm not even sure how to put this one, but this one looks right. This one is untitled. As far as I'm aware, this one's untitled. I don't think I actually gave it a title. It was just a creation, and you probably notice my signature's kind of in it. There's my signature, Yeti, and then there's my signature. The idea with this piece was to kind of represent myself. So the butterfly, the flower, the darkness within me from that flower, but like my bursts of color, my joy, my happiness. But then, even though like I have a representation of myself, I'm also the same one who stepped on the representation of myself. So this is more kind of like how I can be my own worst enemy, I feel sometimes. So like there's a lot of things that I feel like a lot of trouble I've gotten myself into, and I don't have anybody else to blame but myself. And so this is just kind of like dealing with the ways I've, perpetuated trauma on myself. Next one. You probably have seen this one. I have shared, I'm actually kind of proud of this one. I've shared it quite a few times. There's definitely a story here. So, not all of my processing trauma artwork is stuff I want hidden away. Some I'm proud of, some I want as reminders and to see, like this one. So, this one was created as a way to kind of release what I had just gone through. So I sought out professional help in an unconventional way. That means that I sought somebody who had their doctorates, was professionally trained as a psychologist. Since then, decided to take other avenues. They got into psychological guidance through the use of hallucinogenics, specifically those fun fungi. And it was a space that made me feel comfortable exploring and dealing with some of these emotions in a new way, because like there were other people there who would help guide me and make sure that I was not putting myself into an unsafe situation. It was different. I will say I appreciated that I had guides there to help me really look more within myself, to understand deep emotions. However, that was not a fun trip. There was kind of two halves to it. One, the first half actually became an emotional state painting, which kicked off my emotional state series. That is Buzz. So, Buzz. And that one's more about like how I was feeling in the moment, where I was feeling connected with my body in a new way when I have a lot of issues with self-image and body image. So that was a different experience because I felt like I was connecting with my body a bit more. The second half went more into my own personal turmoil, my mental state, and it was intense. I relived every instance that I had been hurt and every instance I hurt somebody else. And it was all happening at once. So like, not necessarily like a movie where I was rewatching everything. I was there reliving it, knowing that I wasn't physically there and I couldn't change anything that was going on. So like, I was just there, but it was my entire life. And I basically created this piece from that experience, and this is titled There's Beauty in Hell. because in those moments, a lot of them, I felt alone, and I felt like I didn't have anybody who would ever understand. I understand. I am the person who understands what I went through because I went through it. So kind of in a way now when I'm looking back at it, I don't feel so alone, and I saw myself in a different way. So this kind of helps just kind of encapsulate how I was feeling. So the blue represents the new, like the modern me, looking back on the shadows of what I was and the shadows of what I had been through. So it just very different piece, but I have this one hanging up because I do like what this one represents. I like the reminder of this one that there's beauty in hell. And yeah, I like this one. This is probably one of my favorites. It's not my favorite, but it is one of them. Run from it. This is not regarding a specific event per se. This is just kind of a lifetime of bottling things up and it all coming out. Running from it just kind of represents like you can't run from who you are. This is like what I was trying to do, just running from it, not acknowledging it, not wanting to accept it. Whether I like it or not, the trauma is part of my story. It is part of who I am, and I can't change that. It is what it is. This kind of represents me trying to run from whatever it is, just what that scaredness, running from being scared, but it's not helping. The other thing, did this one to really change his expression when flipped. It's not perfect, but I really like how it changed and how the drips almost turn into like a bullet wound, for lack of better terms. But this one's definitely up there with ones I like. I don't have this one hanging though. This isn't one I could really look at all the time because I didn't like the person I was when I was running from my past. Even though I feel like I had a legitimate reason to run from it, it still had a negative impact on who I am. So, speaking of that last painting, this is Acknowledge It. And this is just kind of me dealing with the weight of what it feels like to constantly try to hide who I am and hide what my past holds and hide emotions that I don't like. Acknowledge it. It is what it is. It's who I am. It's part of who I am. I can't hide that. I can't bottle it up, and bottling it up causes it to bust out. And that can look through like moments of rage, moments of depression. Just it can manifest itself in very negative ways. So this is my reminder to acknowledge it. You can't run from it when it is part of who you are, and that's what this one represents. That's why if you've seen it in the background on my thumbnails or anything like that, it's because I like what this one represents. I know it's kind of scary. That's why I didn't go into too much detail work with anything else, because I felt like the face and the head was enough to really like drive home what this is. That's what this one represents though, acknowledging it. And it has a poem that I wrote with it, but I'm not going to share that right now because it's just going to be too long, and I don't want to take up too much time with this. I can already see it's going to be a rather long video. The next big set of artwork I would say that's from the series was when I was starting to get to the point where I stopped destroying my artwork. It was also my last unaliving attempt. I was 26. That was the last year. I went into a really dark space, and I wanted to go home. And I thought, like, okay, I'll be fine just going home. That wasn't what I initially realized I felt when I was going. And I hopped on the freeway. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. There were literally no other cars around me. I got the car up to like, I wasn't in my right state of mind you. Like, I understand how dangerous this is, and I should have never done it. Like, that is, I'm gonna own that. I should have never done that. This was dangerous. It was stupid. I got the car up to about 95 miles per hour, and I just yanked the steering wheel to crash into a cinder block barrier. Like, the freeway had a bend in it, and I turned against the bend. I don't know what happened, but instead of just turning right into the barrier, I just spun out. And so I just spun on the freeway like 6 or 7 times before I just stopped. And I started crying. because I failed. I failed what I was seeking out to do. I'm glad I failed, but in the moment, I was so upset that I didn't hit the wall. That was what I wanted to do. So I went home. I ended up going to sleep, and when I woke up, I made an art piece. I don't have the physical piece I thought I did. I believe I have a picture. If I do, this kind of kicked off a totally different series of this, like, chapter, I should say, of this series. A lot of these are gone. I don't have them anymore, but these characters reoccurred in a bunch of the artwork, and I do still have some of the artwork. So the next piece, like from this chapter that I do have, and it's not even centered well, but this one is titled Battlefield Love. And it is a representation of dealing with a partner who was stuck in the grasp of alcoholism. It led to a lot of heartache, a lot of pain. There's a lot of things I wish I would have never gone through that happened because of this. I'm not with that person anymore. I don't think we were good for each other. And so I'm glad that we did separate and go our separate ways, but it really messed me up. And this was like, in the moment, what I was feeling, because I didn't know what to do. I was still kind of young. My partner at the time was 16 years older than me, and I didn't know what to do, how to help. I knew I loved him. Yes, but it also made me realize, like, I had sympathy for him, and this is the relationship that made me learn sympathy and love are two separate emotions that a lot of people intertwine and can't tell apart. I was one of them. They're not the same thing. Having sympathy for somebody is not the same as loving somebody and being in love with them. And so that's what this relationship taught me, which I do think was very important, but as you can tell, it was definitely a struggle. The next one, I have the piece, but it's not the same. This I made after our breakup. It's one of the only pieces from that breakup that I did not destroy. I was not happy with that, though. I didn't know how I wasn't happy with it, but I wasn't happy with it. I liked it enough to not destroy it, but I knew something about it needed to change. And then about a year later, after that relationship ended, that's when I met Eric. And Eric taught me a lot about myself. I liked the direction our relationship was going. I felt like we were in a good space. And we were together, like we're still together, but like a year mark was coming up, and I felt like something was different with this relationship. And I wanted to like find some way to show how this was different, what was different about it. So I took that artwork and I destroyed it in a different way. And this is the only piece I feel I've done this to, but I destroyed it to recreate it. This is how I changed it. So as you could tell, they're working together to repair it. And that's how I felt about Eric, was that he was working with me to repair my broken heart, despite what was going on around it for the heart to be breaking. So I turned it into a shadow box. I destroyed the original to turn it into something different. And I really love what this piece became. And I gave it to him for our first anniversary. I'm sorry about the reflections. These two are the only pieces I really have left of my processing trauma series that are part of that from this chapter specifically. But I think that's okay. I do remember a lot of them. I don't really want to recreate them. So maybe that's progress. I don't know. Going on to the next part. So I have a couple introspective pieces that are part of this. And like this one is dealing with my own internal issues of being neurodivergent. I haven't been re-diagnosed. I guess like I should be re-diagnosed because I was diagnosed in the 90s. And one of my doctors told me I need to get re-diagnosed because of it. I don't have the money to go get re-diagnosed. ADHD, I was on so many different medications for ADHD, as well as A-form. Asperger's, I know it's no longer a thing. It's just autism. but at the time, that's what I was diagnosed with. Like, just, yeah. Anyways, like, I struggle with that because I want to be able to fit in, and I feel like there's always something about me keeping me from fitting in. So I wanted to do kind of like a reflection of that in my artwork. So I made a self-portrait. I don't do very many self-portraits. Like, I've done some caricatures, but even then, I don't do very many. Like, that's not one of the things. I don't like being one of the subjects of my art that much. However, I felt like I needed to do it to help grow and understand myself better. So I made a self-portrait, and this is it. Kind of how I feel with the mind that I have. So my brain is in the center of like the representation of my brain, my skull blasting out and showing just like different emotional states that I have. So like disgust, like just disgust, joy, happiness, sadness, and anger. And I guess like fear could be the one exploding right now, if I were to go that route. But the idea here is just like with ADHD, my brain is always going. I'm always hearing, I don't want to say voices because they're my own thoughts and I know they're my own thoughts, but like the thoughts are always running and they're always talking about different things and I can hear them all going at the same time. And they're just all sorts of different emotions and all like kind of pushing me around almost. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed. That's like one of the reasons I feel like I get so overwhelmed sometimes is because they're all going. So not only is there the external stimuli, there's also the internal stimuli, and it's just too much. So like I feel like I'm going crazy from the inside out. And just kind of like what this is representing. Just like this is my self-portrait. You probably have seen it on my channel, on my page. Like I have posted this one quite a bit. It's one of the ones that I'm proud of that I was able to do. But yeah, I think this is my self-portrait. I think we're going to move on to my most difficult paintings to deal with, just because if I need to take a break, I can take a break and I can end the video in a little bit of a better note. So I think what I'm going to do is move on to paintings that represent people, family members, friends, just people that kind of perpetuated trauma in my life. They're just representations of them. There's nothing specific, like no specific event. That wasn't like the point of these. These kind of also like led to me doing those emotional state paintings a little bit more, because it was just about like getting out what I'm feeling about these events and these peoples and the trauma that's around them. So they may not make sense. They're more abstract for sure. But this is kind of like, these set of paintings led to what you currently are seeing within my emotional state series and my most current processing trauma. So these are about 3-4 years old. Before, like they were made before my special trip, but these were after like I was destroying all that my work, and I was already in Reno when these were created. So start with this one. This one is titled "You Know Not What Embraces You," and it's just kind of representing the path I feel people have tried getting me to go down that is not beneficial for me. How I started recognizing when some people like were not good for each other, just understanding like how we feed off of each other, and that not everybody who calls themselves a friend is a friend. So it's like, you know not what embraces you, and it's just kind of like a representation of the good times, the angry times, the sad times, and just this all blending together and creating this whirlwind of things that you feel like they should be friends, make them friends, but they're not, but they are, but they're not. So yeah, this one, I do have it hanging because I like it as a reminder to like have certain boundaries in place to maintain healthy friendships, and yeah, keep myself guarded in a way. But yeah, I like this one. It is more abstract because of that. Speaking of abstract, I don't have this one anymore. I gave this to the guide who helped me with my trip, and I felt it was very appropriate because there was a lot of complicated, complex emotion put into this painting. So this one is titled Mother. You can probably tell there's a lot going on with it. So there's the stoniness of it, a foundation, yes, but not in the warm way you're expecting. There were moments, yes, of course, but they always came back to like a lot more emotional responsibility being placed on my shoulders that I should not have been responsible for, especially having dealt with what I had dealt with. Uh, there's just a lot of it started when I was really young. Like my first memory is from when I was 1 year old, and it's not a pleasant one. It was because I had been smacked across the room. There's a lot there that's just kind of like being represented here. I was trying to like explore ways of making it look abstract where I still wanted it to look like a nature picture or a nature scene, but I wanted faces, two distinct faces to be in it, just kind of opposite of each other, but looking like they're one and the same. So the two faces are in it. Fire from the yelling and screaming, the stinging from being spanked. I had the urge to destroy this one. I wanted to destroy it. However, my guide really liked it and wanted to keep me from destroying it. Kind of like, you created it, let it free. You don't have to destroy it. So I gave it to him. And it was kind of like as a thank you for getting me through this. So yeah, he loves it. It's with somebody who can appreciate what it represents without the personal ties to it. Whereas one I've been wanting to get rid of and haven't been able to get rid of is So Go. And this one's just feelings that represent me towards my family, specifically my grandmother. So I was put through a lot at a young age that my family recognizes and knows that it happened. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. Like my family, when I was still talking to him, I would bring up issues that I had. And like when you say something and somebody remembers it, but then they're going to deny it immediately. That was the kind of response I always got. And it wasn't like an immediate denial. It was like I would say something that they'd done or that had happened, and they would turn around and say, well, they love you though. And that's what I'm talking about. And then they would say like, and well, like that didn't happen that way, or like I don't remember that happening. Of course, you don't remember that happening if it wasn't being directed towards you. So, like one of the examples is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. I know those stories so freaking well because of how much my family hammered those into me, starting at a very young age. So you guys knew that I was gay and you were trying to stop it when I was 4 years old. So you guys could tell when I was 4. What makes you think it's a choice if you could tell I was going to be at 4 years old? I'm going to do my best to keep my emotions under control. As you can tell, there are a lot of emotions with this. This was a very important part of my life. And the people that I thought I could rely on, I can't. Because the only way that they would accept me is if I wasn't me. So, yeah, that's different things that represent me from that period in my life. My grandmother is represented in the center as a pillar of salt, breaking away. Uh, the stinging nature of my family, just very reminiscent of being stung in the heart over and over and over by a bee. How I would just watch the clock when I was being scolded or that kind of anything that I was going through, being abused. Like if there was a clock in the room, I would watch the clock, begging for the minutes to go by faster, begging for the second hand to just go faster. How I would be left afterwards. What I would think about in those moments of just wanting to be free and go catch butterflies. Because that was something I used to do as a child, was just catch butterflies. But also starting to understand the darkness that was tainting my childhood. So that's what this represents. This one is not done. Um, I still want to add a bunch to this. There's still fresh hurt and anger. Just going to show you. This is titled Father. And there's still a lot more that needs just going to be going into this. This is technically a work in progress. I just haven't been able to finish it because as a child, felt like my dad was the easier of the two parents and that I could turn to him for like being saved. But as I've gotten older, I realized there was a lot more enabling that I just didn't see and understand when I was a child. So that's kind of what this is starting to build upon. So, like I said, though, this one's a work in progress. Some of these paintings are very, very slow. I've been working on this one for 3.5, 4 years ago. So, yeah, that's this one. When I finish it, I will probably end up giving this one away too, or like have somebody in mind to give it to. These next paintings are the heaviest paintings. Just, I'm going to do my best to keep my emotions under control, but fair warning, these are going into the darkest moments, some of the darkest moments of my life. This one is titled Tunnel Vision. I don't know if, I know there's going to be some of you, but I don't know if you experience it the same way that I do. But this one is just what I felt like being screamed at and how it would just go on and everything around me and my peripherals would just go black as I'm being blamed for everything. And I mean, like, starting from a really young age, just being screamed at and standing there trying not to lock my legs so I don't faint again, or trying to think of other things, but I just, everything else is black and all I'm seeing are eyes, mouth, and the fist. There's a few moments that like still are very like heavy in my heart, but that's where like this one's coming from. It's just that tunnel vision of when you're just no sense of time, no sense of space, just all you're seeing is this hatred and vitriol being spewed at you and not understanding why is all of this, was this what I was created for? Because this is a huge chunk of my life, is just knowing this. The reason you might be asking, like, why are you creating? That's the big one I get. Is why do you create that? Why do you put that on the canvas? Because they're images I can't get out of my head. They're memories I can't get out of my head. I don't get to ask for when these memories pop up. I don't get to choose what triggers a flashback of reliving that in that moment. And to try to help with processing it, because it doesn't end. You like, it doesn't end processing it. It is always going to be an ongoing thing. You are always going to be processing this trauma. It doesn't matter how old you get, but you can make it easier and you can make it less painful. And that's like the difference. You can't make it go away, but you can make it a little bit easier. And so that's why I do that. It's to get it out of my head. It's to get it out of my heart. I'm giving it a home. I'm recognizing it. I'm acknowledging it. It's got its space now. It has a home. I'm acknowledging it. I'm not bottling it up. I'm letting it free. And I recognize that it's part of who I am. So that's the other reason, like, big reason why I do this. So why do I put these on canvas? Because it helps. It's almost like a journal for me. I'm a very visual person, and this kind of helps me visualize parts of my life in more healthy ways. And I don't have to obsess with them. So, like, we're definitely into the paintings I don't hang up. I can't have these ones hanging up. I can't stand to look at them constantly over and over. So they felt good to get out, but I'm going to put them away. They have a home, and that home is to be put away. The next one is probably the one that makes the most people mad for some reason, which I know why it makes people mad, but this one's dealing with my religious trauma. So there's going to be imagery here that you may not like. Just your warning. Like, I'm always nervous about sharing this painting just over the reactions I've gotten from some people, because like I'm just trying to get out my own personal feelings and experiences that I've lived through. Uh, I am sorry, but religion itself is not perfect. It is run by humans, and I hate that people feel like it is perfect no matter what, because all that does is diminish the real pain, the real trauma, the real harm that it has caused people for thousands of years. So this one is, I want to redo it. This one was gotten out like kind of quick. I didn't want to focus on it, so I was just trying to get it out as quickly as I possibly could. It was making me really uncomfortable, and I just, yeah, and it just really represents like how the Bible has been used as a weapon against me and been used to justify the pain inflicted on me, and how it's been used to justify the harm that it has caused me. Uh, you know, I had nothing to live for most of my life because of the Bible and my family leading me to believe there was nothing that I could do. I was the worst thing no matter what. And I was destined for hell. There was no redemption. And that was used a lot to justify the abuse that I had gone through. The being spanked with a carved out 2x4, to be grounded for weeks and weeks and weeks, where basically every hour I was just in the room with nothing, no TV, just locked up. This is where you belong. The rest of the family's going to do all this stuff. You're not going to do it. You're not part of the family because you don't know how to behave, and you don't follow the Bible because you don't respect your parents. I was what they made me to be. That's the thing about children. They're mirrors. They don't know how to be a human. They don't know how to be a person. They are what the adults in their lives make them to be. And yeah, all of it justified by the Bible, by the church, with religion. It's, for the longest time, I just believe I had nothing to live for because I thought there was nothing I could do. There was no redemption starting from 7 years old when I went through these next two paintings are about to discuss. And I had no choice. There wasn't anything I could do. But because those things happened, I was going to hell no matter what. So that's what this painting represents. When I was 7 years old, I was learning about dinosaurs. I was going to a gate school, which is, my kindergarten teacher recognized I was very clever. I could pick up things a lot quicker than other children, and that I would probably do better off in an accelerated school, a gate school. I started going there. I was really enjoying everything I was learning. I was enjoying the world around me. I had an escape. There was a lovebird that had gotten away from somebody, but it had made its nest in the tree across the street from my house. And I wanted to catch that lovebird and give it a home, because I didn't feel like it had a proper home because they're not native there. I was really into koosh balls. I had my first fish tank. I had a bunk bed. Legos. I was getting into Legos for the first time too. Thomas the Train was very big for me. Shining Time Station, which is the Americanized version of Thomas the Tank Engine, and that's also essayed by two different people almost at the same time, and neither of them knew the other existed. So one of the things that we had to do at my elementary school was we did a lot of scientific exploration. where we learned the scientific process and we would go out into the world and implement the scientific process to understand the world around us. One of those times was learning about the environment and ecosystem of our school. And you're probably like, what do you mean the environment and ecosystem of your school? We had to go out into the playground, the decorative plants, and talk about different animals or things that we discovered that were living in and around the schoolyard. For this, we got partnered up with senior students from the high school across the street. My senior mentor never took me out into the playground. He just told me what to write. We never went and explored. We never actually learned about the animals. He would take me into a bathroom on the other side of the school. And would make me do things. I would disassociate. I learned how to in this moment. I focused on the urinal cakes. They were pink. They smelled like cherry blossoms. Focusing on them made everything else in the world just kind of go hazy and disappear, as if it didn't exist, as if it was a dream, as if my body and my mind were separate. I could focus on the cherry blossoms. And that's what got me through those moments. After that, I would go to my daycare. My parents were working. And in the morning was fine because it was just the actual daycare worker. I don't remember her name. She also had a son who lived with her, and it was just run out of her own house. However, in the afternoon, her husband would be home. And he took it further than my senior mentor did. And this is where I felt like I didn't belong in heaven. Heaven had turned its back on me. It wasn't just me either. There was a brother and sister. The brother was older than me. The sister was younger than me. I don't remember their names either. But he would make us do stuff to each other, to him. He would do stuff to us. And he just had this smile. He would record it. And this is when I felt like there was nothing I was ever going to be able to do. I was going to hell. I need a moment. I made this to represent how lonely I felt. I didn't feel like I could turn to anybody. What made it worse, his wife, babysitter, the daycare worker, I know she found the tapes. I know she found the tapes because I got in trouble for them. After so many weeks, the daycare lady, she ended up calling my parents and said, "We have to have a meeting." So, and both of them had to be present with me. And she started saying, "Mind you, I'm 7 years old. I am 7. I hadn't gone through puberty yet. I didn't have any kind of sex drive. I was 7, but she found these tapes and she didn't show my parents. She refused to show my parents, but she told them she saw them and that she was furious and that I was going to be removed from her system. And my parents needed to make it right with her because through the state of California, she could press charges against me because the things that she said she saw me do with these other 2 kids. And I needed to be grateful, and my parents needed to be grateful that she wasn't going to press charges and have me locked away and sent away. She knew what she was doing. She was protecting him. And on top of it, my parents refused to talk about it. They absolutely refused. They shut it down every single time anything like that came up regarding what I had been through. I went to one therapist who put me on ADHD medications. Wouldn't talk about it either. Just trying to find out what medications they could put me on to make me right, to make me better, to make me everything that I wasn't. Because I wasn't good enough. And I was damaged. I'm very proud of this piece. I'm very happy I got it out onto canvas. This is another one of those that I cannot hang up though. It exists. It, it's there. I'm proud of myself for processing through these emotions and getting them out. But I don't think I will never be okay 100% because of this. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. I got it out. It has its home. I will say I did feel a lot better once I got it out on the canvas and that it lives here. The representation of heaven and the angel. While I felt like I was down in the depths of hell with this evil, horrible man. That's that is probably my most intense painting. But I need a little bit of a palette cleanser. So not all of my processing trauma paintings are bad. I saw some of them that actually I turned into good. That's where the one I'm most proud of comes in. Protect your peace. Some of you probably saw the video that this is from. Protect your peace. And sometimes protecting your peace looks like you guarding your heart. Sometimes it looks like taking action to stand up for yourself or to stand up for others. Sometimes it looks like keeping a boundary around yourself to protect you from those around you. So of course I have this one hanging up because this one probably means the most to me now. Aside from the one I gave to Eric for our first anniversary, this one I am the most proud of. And I would rescue from a fire. This would be one of the paintings. I know it's not as intense as the other ones, and I'm okay with that just because I like what it represents. So, yeah. I think this one's beautiful, and I'm very proud of this one. I know this wasn't an easy video. I appreciate you making it this far. Again, this is just what I do to help process some very deep wounds, and we're human. We're all going to be imperfect, and we're all going to process things in different ways. If this is something that might be beneficial for you, I'd say give it a try. Again, I do recommend go seek help. Therapy did help a lot, but it took a long time to find a therapist that worked for me. So shop around. Do not feel like you have to stay with somebody just because you booked an appointment with them. If you don't like it, you can leave. There's going to be somebody out there that will help you, I promise. I believe I answered everybody's questions that I have gotten. I know it's a lot. I'm sorry this is such a heavy video. I hope the warning I gave in the beginning was sufficient enough. Not exactly like I have shared bits and pieces of these stories before with other people, just much smaller stages. This one feels very big and the potential to be huge. And I don't know if it's fully set in, but I know it helped me hearing other people talk about their struggles, talking about their events, and how they work through it. I hope it can do that for somebody else out there. So, yeah, that kind of concludes my processing trauma tour for now. Like I said, most of the artwork for the series I destroyed. It existed for a moment, and that moment's gone. So, let me know things that you do that you feel like help you. I'm all for us sharing our tools to help process and cope with strong feelings and emotions and trauma that we have been through. I am going to just ask that no one helps diagnose anybody. Please encourage them to seek help, to find tools that might help them. Share your own tools that help you. Maybe somebody out there will find the tools that they can start using that would help them get to a place where they can seek help. I'm always going to talk to people. There's lots of different ways to go about it. There's lots of different professionals out there. The other question, how in the world can I go from creating stuff like this that's super cute to stuff like that? Well, I've been through a lot, and I like the cute, colorful, vibrant art. And because of things that have happened to me, that dark, morbid, surreal art speaks to me. And because I'm human, I can like more than one thing. And so they kind of go hand in hand for me. So yeah, I think I answered all of your questions. If I didn't, ask your question down in the comments. I feel like I do a pretty good job of responding to everybody as best I can. Leave your comments. I'll do my best to get to them. No telling how far in the future that you're going to see this video, but yeah. Anyways, please be safe out there. Don't get lost. Don't get stolen. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye, you beautiful people.